This is the Red Podcast.
This is episode number 26, Embracing Chaos. If you really want to grow your business fast, you're going to have to get outside of your comfort zone. You're going to have to be a different person than you are right now. Chaos comes along with that. We'll talk about how to deal with it. We'll talk about the good things that can happen when you have chaos in your life. That's on this episode of the Red Podcast.
This is the Red Podcast. Real entrepreneur development. Make more money, work less, and live a life of freedom. No BS advice that really works. Here's your hosts, David Hooper and Laurel Staples.
David, am I correct to assume that you ate cookies for breakfast this morning?
You are correct. Yeah, I had one.
Well, there was an empty container of cookies sitting in the sink with water in it this morning, and I know it wasn't empty last night, so I assumed you ate them for breakfast.
And just to make it clear, when I had the container, there were only 2 cookies in it.
But they were sizable cookies.
Laurel brought home some gluten-free, healthy cookies.
They were not healthy.
Maybe not.
They had sugar, chocolate.
Yeah, chocolate chip
or
healthy
sugar.
Cookies. Yeah. And yeah, I had one yesterday and finished it up this morning for breakfast with my oatmeal.
Breakfast of champions.
It was delicious. Yeah, it got me off to a great start.
Yeah, that's real entrepreneur development right there. You got to start your day with a healthy breakfast of chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah, that's how we do it here at Red HQ.
I like it.
Hey, we got a sponsor for this episode, Laurel. We're right in the middle of 30 days of red hot giveaways. We've got Kindles to give away, iPods, Amazon TVs. We just gave away a Chromecast, a lot of books, Blinkist subscriptions, a lot of cool stuff.
This giveaway has been great so far. I mean, we've gotten a really positive response. We've gotten a lot of reviews on iTunes, which thanks to everybody for that. It's just been an amazing time, probably because we're giving away some really cool stuff.
Could be. Yeah, we wanted to give away stuff that people like us, real entrepreneurs, people out there doing it, or people who want to do it, would use. So these are things you can read books on, watch videos, listen to podcasts, and we've got some stuff to give away, including a book by our sponsor for the day, Dave Delaney.
Dave is awesome. Everybody in Nashville knows Dave.
Everybody. Yeah, Dave, originally from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, where you're getting ready to go.
Yep.
Came to Nashville, didn't know anybody, and the book he's got, it's called New Business Networking, talks about how he made connections in this city before he even showed up.
He made connections before he showed up?
That's what the book talks about. It talks about how anybody can do the same thing. And he's got a website. It's daveadelaney.com. He also has a podcast. It's called NBN Radio, New Business Networking. Is what that stands for. And he interviews a lot of great people on there about how to get connected. So if you're a person who's interested in getting more connected, Dave Delaney is the guy to talk about, and we'll give away one of those books here on this episode.
Well, what's cool about Dave is he really walks the talk. I mean, he's somebody that if you are an entrepreneur or a business owner in Nashville, you know Dave because that's what he does. He networks and he teaches people how to network. So it's just cool to see someone that actually knows what he's talking about to discuss networking and what really works.
Yeah. I mean, if a guy can show up, know a lot of people the day he shows up because he's done his work beforehand, that says something.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks, Dave, for being our sponsor today. So what are we talking about, David?
So I want to talk about embracing chaos. Chaos is something that comes with entrepreneurship, comes with running your own business. There's just a lot of stuff going on at any given time. And in order to change anything that you've got going on, you've got to go from those smooth sailing seas that you've got into the chaos before it gets better.
When you say chaos, I think about that old ride that used to be at Opryland theme park. Did you ever go on that ride, David?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Opryland was kind of like the Six Flags of Nashville, but more country.
It was really awesome. But chaos was this indoor ride that went from maybe 0 to 60 miles an hour in 3 seconds. And you went through this darkness and they played this weird music and it was awesome.
They tried to make you think like a bomb was going off. There was a countdown, and that's a lot like chaos, although it's not nearly as exhilarating when it's real and happening in your own life.
Yeah, the ride was fun, and chaos in your own life, not so much fun, but it happens. You know those old maps, David, where you have like the land and then there's the water where like the sea monsters are, like where the earth like supposedly drops off kind of thing. Like that's where I think of the chaos is like when you're on the land and you're in your comfort zone and you're kind of, you're halfway playing the game of business, like you're fine. You're probably not experiencing any chaos. But when you go out into uncharted territory, that's when you find the monsters and all that other stuff, but you got to push through that to get to the other side. But so many people are scared to go out there and embrace that chaos, which is what we're talking about today, that they just stay kind of stuck in their comfort zone where they are, and you don't get anywhere in life when that's the case.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like those maps, the monsters are all in your head. And that makes it even worse. And that's why we do Red Podcasts. We've been down that road or several of these roads. And we have episodes for each of the things. So again, thank you for listening and thank you for your warm welcome into iTunes. We appreciate that. Laurel, I think it's important that we talk about the great things that are born of chaos. Most great things were born of chaos.
Well, I think about relationships when I think of chaos, aside from the ride at Opryland. But for instance, like before I'd met you, I had this horrible breakup with this man, and talk about chaos. Like this was chaos. It was just a really bad time, a really big dip. And it's something you have to go through before something amazing happens. So I kind of think of chaos as something that happens a lot in relationships, but when you're willing to stake out for what you want and go full force towards the next thing, that's when something great can happen. But you can't avoid the chaos. You have to go through it to get there.
And how many failed businesses have we had? We've talked about these on the episodes here before.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's stuff you have to go through. You have to let go of old things. And when you let go of something that's been comfortable, whether it's a business or a relationship, you're going to be going into that uncharted territory.
But once you go through those, you know better the next time.
Exactly. Well, it gets less scary and there's less chaos, but there's still going to be chaos when you're trying to take your life to the next level.
I think that great art comes from chaos. When you think about great pop music, for example, a lot of times there'll be two people in a band and they'll just hate each other or they'll fight all the time. You think about like Van Halen, the two brothers always fighting, or the singer David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen, the guitar player, always fighting. We hear about these acts like that all the time, or we hear about tension on the set with people doing a movie, but it really brings out the true art and the true passion and true emotions. People have told us, Laurel, and we said, no, we're not going to do that. They thought we should fight a little bit more here on Red Podcast. And that kind of chaos, it can bring out really, really great things. So I think thinking about that can help you embrace it in your own life.
I think there's a difference between well, maybe not. Tell me if I'm wrong. Difference between creating your own chaos, like being bitchy might create some chaos, and just picking a fight or us fighting, that's like creating our own chaos. But I think there's a difference between that and when you try to go to the next level in your life and things just end up happening, chaos ends up occurring because you're trying to break out of your comfort zone and go full force.
Yeah, maybe so. I think deadlines can be self-inflicted chaos when you think about it. When you start putting limitations on what you're able to do or how long you have to do it, sometimes that can really, really make the work better. I knew a guy and he had what he called the 24-hour, it's like let me use a better example. Have you ever seen the 48-hour film festival?
I have. I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
And I think that's the right name of it. But what they'll do is they will put people in the same room for a weekend and give them 48 hours to cut a full movie. And sometimes having that limitation can make the product a little bit more creative than it would have been. You know how it is, Laurel. We're in the middle of these long book projects and we're like, well, we've got 18 months, no problem here. We'll get it done. And I think that's sometimes why a lot of people like me will wait till the very end, procrastinate, because that's when we do our best work. That limitation really helps us out.
That's no excuse for procrastination. Oh, yeah, I procrastinate, so it's better.
Well, that's the story, sticking to that. But the truth is that chaos definitely occurs for a lot of projects right before the miracle.
That's the thing. It's not every time, but a lot of times you got to go through that dip before you come out on the other side. I mean, a lot of the entrepreneurs and business owners that I've talked to on my other podcast, Go Fire Yourself, talk about, how tough it was before they really came out on top. Something that sticks out to me is Steve Scott, who does Kindle publishing and talks all about that. You can Google him. But he talked about how he quit his job and he got maybe $20,000, $30,000 in debt. I forget the exact number, and was really going through that time of chaos before he was able to pull himself back out. And his Kindle business took off, and he's doing really well now doing that and teaching it. And so it's like the calm, as you said, the calm before the storm. And if he didn't keep going through that chaos, if he just went back and got a job or tried to get back in his comfort zone, he wouldn't have made it to where he is today. So that chaos kind of shows in my mind that you're moving in the right direction. You're moving towards something new, because if you just stay on the comfort zone mainland of where you were and don't go into those uncharted waters, you're just going to have the life that you already have, which is what you don't want probably if you're trying to grow and develop.
On episode number 7, and Laurel, you had a story right before me on episode number 6. So it would be redpodcast.com/7 or redpodcast.com/6. Things didn't really start to happen for us as entrepreneurs until we let go of that safety net.
Yeah, you have to go through the chaos.
It does add to the tension, but you find out the strength and resilience that you have. And I see that all the time, guys that want to quit their jobs, or the guys that quit and they have these huge bankrolls. So, well, I could hang out for 3 years. That's what one guy told me. And 3 years later, he was still hanging out. Now he's working a day job again. It's embarrassing. 3 years. He had all this money that he could have invested. He had all this time, and he had no pressure. All the bills were paid, and he did not do anything. So I think the chaos can really be that fuel that pushes you forward if you embrace it. And it's scary as hell, but it gets the job done.
Well, let's talk about how to embrace the chaos, because it's something that's come up in our lives, other people's lives. How do we embrace it? I mean, what's the first thing you would say?
I think that keeping your eye on the goal is absolutely important. We did that with Red Podcast. We have certain goals that we want. We started into this thing not knowing what we were going to do. We had a huge, I would say, aggressive schedule for recording. We've got other things going on behind the scenes for this, and we weren't really sure how they were going to work out, but we thought, well, if they do get to this point, here's what the result is going to be. And we've learned a lot about podcasting, for example, and I think any business would be that way. And sometimes it gets frustrating. It doesn't, when people hear the episodes, they say, oh man, you guys are really killing it. Well, yeah, when you hear them, but you don't hear the editing that we have to do or the planning that we have to do or getting people excited about it and working on the sponsorships like Dave Delaney today, and the work that we have to do behind the scenes.
Or working together as a couple.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. And that's a whole nother one. The fact that we have to live and work together. Yep. So I think for us, this is a personal example, and it's something that we're going through right now. Keeping your eye on the goal is absolutely paramount. Sometimes that's the only thing you have to focus on, because you're going through this tunnel and you can't see anything. You just have to trust that the tunnel will eventually end and you'll get out on the other side.
And I always say you have to want what you want more than you want what you have right now. And that's something that keeps me focused on the future and focused on the goal, is that you want it more. I mean, the people that don't get anywhere in life are just comfortable, and they're comfortable with their mediocre existence. And if that's not you, you got to keep your eye on that goal. And then if there's chaos, you just embrace it and know, to me, chaos is just a sign that you're going in the right direction. If you feel like comfortable and secure and safe right now, you're probably not going in the right direction. You need to shake it up a little bit to get anywhere.
Comfort is the enemy of progression in life or in business. How many times have you met somebody, Laurel, they're 20 years